Okie doke. Hello everybody, I wanted to make a quick video for Stormgate and some Infernal strategies because I've been playing Infernal and I've been having a lot of fun with the early access, and it's just been a blast to experiment with different units, experiment with different strategies, and see how they go overall. Recently, Frost Giant has released a patch that make it a lot more important to go for creep camps. So at the start of the game, I make one iron vault immediately, and then I send an imp down to build a meat farm pretty close to one of the creep camps, and by doing so I'm allowing myself to use a brute as well as the hexen that you start the game with, and then you can creep. Sorry for the pause there, but it's gonna be speeding up randomly throughout the game as well. So just going to kill the chicken because heck that chicken. Brute is going to be out, and I'm only going to be making a single brute. After the brute comes out, we are going to be waiting for some of the, I don't remember what they're called, fell hogs, to spawn from the meat farm. Then we're going to be using those in order to deal with some of the creeps. Going to be using the Skull of Shedda as much as possible. And this was one of the annoying things from this game. The little dogs can go up the cliff with their charge ability, and by doing so, it kind of bugs everything out, and yeah, it happened again for a second time, so I had to run all of my units up to the high ground, eventually kill it off, but it was a little bit more annoying than it needed to be. Also, I used a Skull of Shedda on one of the dogs, and then the infestation wore off when it went up to the high ground. So I didn't get the extra fiend from that, unfortunately, but it is what it is. We were still able to clear out 2 camps, and in the meantime, okay, so I'm going to explain this build a little bit since I didn't really do too much in the beginning. So the entire idea behind this strategy is you're just going to spam Hexen and the brutes. Brutes are mostly just for absorbing damage. They aren't really going to be too useful in terms of fighting potential, mostly just because brutes are slow as heck. So they're one of the highest DPS units that you can get, but they're just so slow that a lot of the times your brutes are going to be kited away and they can't really do too much. You can split them off into fiends, but you're losing a lot of value from the brutes if you do that. So ideally you only want to be splitting them off into fiends after they die. And this engagement isn't going too well. I'm going to be sending my Hexen back. And he's going to be... This is one thing that's very common in Celestial games, is that they will set up a... I believe this is called a creation chamber out in the middle of the map, and then they just proxy a bunch of power banks and other buildings to fortify a position right outside your base, and then it makes it very difficult to do anything. But I'm completely fine with this. So the build order is, at the beginning of the game, you build one iron vault, and then you go for an expansion. After your expansion is done, you send like 3 imps into gas, and then you build your conclave. Then after you build your conclave, then you're going to be getting your ritual chamber, and then after you get your ritual chamber, you're just going to pump out the Hexen upgrades as much as possible. And you really want a lot of gas, so if you have the option, you're always going to be getting your natural with a gas, and probably putting a few imps on the gas as well, just because of how much therium this strategy takes. So I'm going to be using another Skull of Shedda in order to just scout out and confirm that he's still containing me in my base. I built a single Shroud Stone in order to just protect myself a little bit, make sure that I don't die to an all-in with a bunch of Argents, which are these little shooty boys over here. And then again, I'm just waiting for the Hexen upgrades to come online. The last one is about to finish, and the nice thing about the Hexen upgrades is that it also increases the regeneration rate of the Hexen as well. And once we have Miasma, all ground units are kind of, they're going to get infested, and it's really hard to dodge, especially with how many Hexen that I have. You can just place down a bunch of Miasma, and it's really hard to deal with because the AoE of Miasma is huge. So as you can see, pretty normal Celestial stuff, but the Miasma is just all over the place. You really can't effectively break this position or micro against it without stepping into the Miasma, and because he wants to be as close to the power banks as possible, he needs to try and fight near them, but by doing so he's going to be stepping into the miasma, and because of it I'm going to be able to just do a ton of damage to all of his Argents and pretty much snowball the game from here. I've been having so much fun with this strategy just because it seems like it shouldn't work. It's like massing High Templar or something, but it's pretty good. And even if you aren't able to tech into miasma, or even if you have enough miasma to do a lot of DPS, you can just have the Hexen auto-cast the Skull of Sheddas, and those do pretty good damage as well. I feel like the Hexen is one of the highest DPS ground units that Infernal have, and they're pretty tanky as well. They have like 200 HP, compared to, let's say, like a Gaunt, which only has 100 HP, although they spawn in 2, and the cost is fairly comparable. It's just, the Hexen seems like it has so much more utility, and it only costs a little bit more gas. So that's pretty much the gist of the strategy. I think you actually get the Greater Shrine a little bit after you get your Conclave. And then when the Greater Shrine is building, then you build the Ritual Chamber. Sorry, I'm not explaining the build very well, but these are just general ideas. I haven't completely fleshed out the build, so I'm still going to be experimenting with it, but I've been having a lot of fun with this. It's been showing some pretty good success. The MMR that I've been playing this in is around 1600, 1700 range, so it's not the best, but definitely not too bad by any means. I hope you guys all enjoy it, and I will see you guys later.